In this video, we're going to talk about how to find the surface area and the volume of a square-based pyramid and a triangular pyramid. So let's draw a picture of the square-based pyramid. Just a rough sketch. And let's calculate the volume of this pyramid first. So the line in red is basically the height of the pyramid. So let's say the pyramid has a base length of 6, and the height of the pyramid, let's say it's 10 units long. How can we find the volume of this pyramid? To find the volume, you need to use this equation. It's 1/3 times the area of the base multiplied by the height of the pyramid. The height in this example is h. And we need to find the area of the base. Let's call this b, but lowercase b. You can call it s or x if you want to, depending on if that's the way your teacher taught it or if it's in your textbook like that. But I'm going to use lowercase b for the side length of the base and capital B for the area of the base. So to find the area of the square, it's going to be the length times the width, or simply b squared. So the area of the base is b squared. So therefore, the volume of this entire square-based pyramid is 1/3 times the side length squared multiplied by the height of the pyramid. So it's going to be 1/3, 6 squared times 10. 6 times 6 is 36, and 1/3 of 36, or 36 divided by 3, that's 12. And 12 times 10 is 120. So the volume is 120 cubic units. So let's say if this was 6 inches, the volume would be 120 cubic inches if everything was in inches. Let's try another practice problem. So go ahead and find the volume of this pyramid. So let's say the side lengths are 8 inches, and the height, let's say it's 12 inches. So feel free to pause the video and find the volume of this pyramid. So the volume is going to be 1/3 times the area of the base multiplied by the height of the pyramid. And the area of the base, as we defined in the last example, is going to be the side length of the square squared. So basically just b squared. So in our example, b, lowercase b, is 8, and the height is 12. So it's 1/3 multiplied by 8 squared times 12. 1/3 of 12, or 12 divided by 3, that's 4. And 8 squared is 64. 4 times 64 is 256. So the volume is 256 cubic inches. And so that's the answer for this example. Now, let's talk about finding the slant height of a square-based pyramid. So let me just draw this first. I want to draw this carefully. Now, the red line is the height of the pyramid, as we talked about before. So this makes a right angle with the plane of the pyramid. The line in green is the slant height. So make sure you're aware of the difference between these two. So this is L, which represents the length of the green dashed line, and the red dashed line that represents the height of the pyramid. We're going to say B represents the side length of the square. Now, we've talked about the volume of a pyramid. It's 1/3 b squared times h, or 1/3 the area of the base times h. But now, if you want to find a surface area, you need to use the slant height instead of the actual height. The surface area is the area of the base plus the lateral area. Now, the area of the base is simply the area shaded in blue. And basically, that's just b squared. Now, what about the lateral area? Notice that this pyramid has 4 triangles. Here's one of the triangles shaded in blue. So that's the triangle on the right side. You have a triangle on the left, one in the back, and one in the front. So that triangle, I'm just going to redraw it. Just a side view of it. So this is the base length of the square, which is also the base of the triangle. And the line in green represents the slant height of the triangle, which is L. Now, whenever you have a triangle, if you know the base and if you know the height of the triangle, to find the area is simply 1/2 base times height. But in this case, the height is the slant height, so the area becomes 1/2 base times slant height, which is L. Now, the triangular pyramid has 4 triangles. You have one on the left, highlighted in green, and then you have one in the back, which is the blue line's kind of overlapping it, but you can see it in the back there, and then the one in the front. Represented by the portion shaded in yellow. So therefore it's going to be 4 times the area of each of those triangles, which is 1/2 b times L. So 4 times a half is 2. So therefore the surface area, you could find it using this equation. It's b squared plus 2 bl. So that's the formula I'm going to use to find the surface area of a square base pyramid. It's the area of the base plus the lateral area. Go ahead and try this example. So let's say if you're given the slant height, and let's say it's 15 centimeters, and you're given the length of the base. Let's say it's 8 centimeters. It's 8 by 8. Go ahead and calculate the surface area of this object or figure. And also find the lateral area as well. Now the first thing I would do is find the lateral area. The lateral area is simply 2bl. As you mentioned before, it's 1/2 base times height, or in this case slant height. That's the area of each triangle. And there's 4 triangles, so times 4. And that gives us 2bl. So that will give you the lateral area, the area of the 4 triangles. So b in our example is 8 and L is 15. So it's 2 times 8 times 15. Now 2 times 15 is 30. And 30 times 8, if 3 times 8 is 24, 30 times 8 is 240. So it's 240 square centimeters. So that's the lateral area. Now what we need to do next is we need to find the surface area. It's the area of the base plus the lateral area. So it's going to be b squared plus 2bl. B squared, that's going to be 8 squared, and 2bl is 240. 8 squared is 64. 64 plus 240, that's going to be 304. So the surface area is 304 square centimeters. And so now you know how to find the surface area and the lateral area of a square-based pyramid. So these are the two equations that you need. Now let's work on another problem. Let's say the height is 12 inches. So that's going to be the height of the pyramid. And let's say the base is 10 inches long and 10 inches wide. So using this information, find both the volume and the surface area of this pyramid. So be careful with this problem. So go ahead and take a minute and work on this problem. Feel free to pause the video too. So let's start with the volume. It's 1/3 base times height, which is 1/3 the side length squared times the height of the pyramid. B is 10, and the height is 12. So 1/3 of 12 is 4, and 10 squared is 100. So in this problem, the volume is 400 cubic inches. So that wasn't bad. Now what about the surface area and also the lateral area? How can we find those things? Well, first we need to calculate the slant height. So we got to find the length of this green line. So how can we do that? Notice that we can make a right triangle. So I'm just going to redraw the right triangle. We have the height of the triangle. We know it's 12. We need to find the length of the green line, which is L, the slant height. But what is the base of the triangle? Well, if B is 10, and we know that the red line, the red dotted line, has to be at the center of the pyramid, therefore, this section must be half of 10. So if this whole thing is 10, then this portion must be 5. It has to be half of 10 because this is the midpoint of the pyramid. So now we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the slant height. So for those of you who want an equation for this process, since B is 10, 5 is B divided by 2. It's half of the base length. So to find L for the square base pyramid, L squared is equal to B over 2 squared plus H squared. So you can use that formula if you ever need to find a slant height, if you know the length of the base and the height of the pyramid. So B over 2 is 5, and H is 12. 5 squared is 25, 12 squared is 144. When added together, that will give you 169. So now we got to take the square root of both sides. The square root of 169 is 13. So that's the length of the slant height. So now that we have it, we could find the lateral area, which is simply 2BL. So it's 2 times 10 times 13. Now 10 times 13 is 130, and 2 times 130 is 260. So that's the lateral area. It's 260 square inches. Now the last thing that we need to do for this problem is calculate the surface area. The surface area is the area of the base plus the lateral area, which is B squared plus 2BL. So B squared, that's going to be 10 squared plus 2 times 10 times 13. So 10 squared is 100, and we know that 2 times 10 times 13, that's the lateral area, which is 260, giving us a total surface area of 360 square inches. So that's the surface area of this figure. So just be careful when you need to calculate the slant height. And as long as you know how to find it, finding the volume, surface area, and lateral area should be a piece of cake. Now let's talk about the triangular pyramid. So I'm going to have to draw this one carefully. I'm going to draw a nice big picture so you can clearly see everything. And this is a right angle. And in red, just like I did before, this is going to represent the height of the actual pyramid. The line in red is the height of the pyramid, just like before. Now this section here is the base of the triangle. And this section here, we're going to call it the height of the triangle. So in the last pyramid that we dealt with, we had a square base pyramid, but here this is a triangle base pyramid. So we need the base and height to find the area of that base, the triangular base. Now to find the volume is 1/3 times the area of the base multiplied by the height. So in order to find the area of the base, which is this triangle at the bottom, we need to use this formula. It's 1/2 base times height. So make sure you distinguish the height of the pyramid, which I'm using capital H, versus the height of the triangular base, which I'm going to use as a lowercase h to distinguish them. So this will give you the volume of this particular pyramid. So let's work on an example. So feel free to pause the video and try this problem. So let's say this is 5, this is 13, this side is 12, and this portion, the height of the pyramid, is 15. So with this information, go ahead and calculate the volume of the pyramid. So this is 15, that's the height of the pyramid. 5 is the base of the pyramid. 12 is the height of the base of the triangle. So now let's use the formula. Volume is 1/3 the area of the base multiplied by the height of the pyramid. So that's 1/3 times the area of the triangle, which is 1/2 base times height, multiplied by the height of the pyramid. So the base of the triangle is 5 units long. The height of the triangle is 12 units long. And the height of the pyramid is 15 units. So let's see how we can do the math here. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So now we don't have to worry about those two numbers anymore. 1/3 of 15, or 15 divided by 3, that's 5. And we still have another 5 to deal with. Now 5 times 6 is 30, and 30 times 5 is 150. So the volume is 150 cubic units. So now you know how to find the volume of a triangular pyramid. Now let's focus on finding the surface area of a triangular pyramid. So let's draw a picture first. And let's say the line in green is the slant height. So we have the slant height L, we have the base of the triangle, and the height of the triangle. Now, most examples that you'll see when finding the surface area is that the triangular base is usually an equilateral triangle in order to simplify the calculations. Otherwise, this problem might be more difficult than for a typical pre-algebra course. So if it's an equilateral triangle, then instead of having a height, this is also going to be b. It's going to be a base length, and this too would be b as well. And for most examples that you will see for this type of problem, it's usually an equilateral triangle. Now, to find the surface area, it's going to be the area of the base plus the lateral area. Now, the area of the base, the area of an equilateral triangle, it's the square root of 3 over 4 times b squared. That's for an equilateral triangle. And the lateral area, there are 3 triangles that we need to cover. So this is the triangle on the right side. This is the triangle in the back. And we have a triangle in the front. Now sometimes they may give you the area of the base. If that's the case, you could just replace b with that number. But if you need to find the area of an equilateral triangle, you can use this formula. Now there's 3 lateral faces, and the area of each of those faces is 1/2 base times height. But we need to use the slant height instead, so it's 1/2 b times l. Now sometimes you might be given the height of this triangle. If you're given the height of the triangular base, then you don't need to use this formula. Instead, the area of the base will now be 1/2 base times height. So depending on what you're given, sometimes you could use this formula, 1/2 base times height plus 3 over 2 b times l if you combine 3 times 1/2. So sometimes you might be using this formula, whereas other times you may need to use this formula, depending on what's given to you. Let's try an example. So let's say the length of the red line, we're going to say it's 10.4 inches. And the base of that triangle is going to be 12 by 12 by 12. So it's an equilateral triangle. And let's say that the slant height let's say it's 15 inches long. Using this information, go ahead and calculate the surface area of this triangular pyramid. So what we need to do is find the area of the base plus the lateral area. Now, since we have the height of the triangular base, we can use this equation to calculate the area of the base. We can also use this equation too, root 3 b squared over 4, since we have an equilateral triangle. In fact, let's do it both ways, so you can see that you'll get the same answer. Now the lateral area, we said it's 3 times 1/2 base times slant height. Now the base is 12. The height of the triangular base, that's 10.4. L is 15. So now half of 12 is 6, and then 6 times 10.4, that's 62.4. So that's the area of the base. Now to find the lateral area, it's basically 3 over 2 b times L. So 3 times 12, that's 36, divided by 2, that's 18, times 15, that's 270. So if we add 62.4 to 270, that's going to give us the surface area, which is 332.4 square inches. So that's how you could find the surface area in this problem. Now, if we were to use this formula, let's see what we're going to get. So b is 12. b squared, 12 squared is 144, divided by 4, that's 36. So this is going to be 36 root 3. 36 root 3 is 62.35, which if you round it, that's about 62.4. So you should get the same value. So this height is not an exact value, it's a rounded value. But the answer for this problem is 332.4. That's how you could find the surface area using that equation. Let's try one more problem. So let's say if we're given a slant height of 20 and we're given the base length, let's say it's 8, and the units are all centimeters for every dimension. Go ahead and calculate the surface area and the lateral area of this object. So let's start with the lateral area. The lateral area, we know it's going to be 3 times 1/2 base times the slant height. So the length of the base is 8 and the slant height is 20. Now half of 8 is 4. And 4 times 20 is 80. And 3 times 80 is 240. So the lateral area is 240 square centimeters. Now let's find the surface area. The surface area is going to be the area of the base plus the lateral area, which we already have. Now this time, we don't have the height of the triangle or the triangular base. So in order to find the area of this equilateral triangle, we need to use this formula. Square root 3 over 4 b squared. So b is 8 and the lateral area is 240. 8 squared is 64 and 64 divided by 4 is 16. So right now we have this. The surface area is 16 root 3 plus 240. So that's the exact answer. But if you want to get a decimal value, multiply 16 by the square root of 3. And that should give you 27.7 if you round it to the nearest tenth. And then let's add 240 to it. So the surface area is 267.7 square centimeters. So that's the answer.